If you want to prove Ms. Hess' point, simply put this interview on the internet and read the comments. Yeah.
Oh, no, the comments were
comments,
happening.
The comments on our live stream. There's our listeners who listen to the show every day on our YouTube live stream, Majority Report Live. And I am in shock at some of the things that are being said. Yes. It pretty much comes down to, but what about the poor men? Right. What about the men?
But I don't think it's just feminists who have this problem. Read some of the comments on your videos criticizing Alex Jones. Yes, but with that said, I think it really, it's of a different sort because, yes, the Alex Jones, fans have a particular bent to them. I think the difference is that there's nothing, just about everything else I comment on, I get nothing like that. And even those comments, for the most part, I mean, it's one thing, like, yeah, he's a Zionist Jew-run Jew, but it's not even as sort of personal. I've gotten comments that are just like, I've gotten some pretty threatening stuff over the years, but, not in the
gun stuff,
not in the same degree or amount. And I will say this, to the extent that I have gotten those, it's not like they always just bounce off of me. I mean, there are moments where it's like, hey, wait a second, this is a little disturbing, and more so particularly since I've been a father. But so I can only imagine if I was to get a tsunami of these things like many of these women do, what that would do to my ability to turn out content. I mean, which is why I, wanted to make sure that I congratulated Amanda Hess. And I think to a certain extent, we should also have a certain appreciation for all women who are subjected to this online. I mean, just a rolling appreciation, sort of.
I mean, there's certainly a difference in the comments when someone is saying to someone who puts something out there, like, this sucks, you're a failure, no one will miss you when you die. And then what a lot of women get, which is, I am going to find you and rape you and kill you.
Right. I don't know if this anecdote is precisely what your guest is talking about, but a woman who works for GameSpot wrote a review for GTA 5 where she criticized it for misogyny. She's subsequently deluged by a campaign and presumably dudes trying to get her fired, despite still giving the game a 9 out of 10 score. I think the type of response that our guest was talking about was more of the nature of sort of personal, that misogynist.
But it intersects.
That one I think was even worse, actually, because I believe the reviewer was actually transgender.
Oh wow!
But where it intersects and where the legal implications are interesting is at what point does this become an infringement on employment and work? That's what she was talking about.
Right.
And there's a direct connection there between literally a crusade to have somebody fired because they did their job as a writer.
I mean, look, I'm not as bothered by that as long as it's not oriented towards her being a woman.
Well, I mean, in that case, in a lot of these cases, it's kind of inseparable. I hear what you're saying, and there's nothing wrong per se.
I mean, I think the issue that Amanda Hess was writing about, and when she was talking about that professor was talking about this as being a sort of a discriminatory, is that if women have to shut their computers or get off Twitter or have to hesitate to write certain things because of the fact that they're a woman.
Like a review of Grand Theft Auto where you raise some of the issues.
But a male could have written the misogynist and gotten the same. It just depends.
I don't
on the
know that
nature
there would have
of
been
the
a
attacks.
campaign to get their
Well,
job
that's
fired. That's
hard
all
to
I'm
decipher.
saying.
Yes. Radio Og host, telling women to get off of Twitter or close their laptops is essentially equivalent to saying, well, maybe you shouldn't be there anyways. Eggnog Queen. Yeah, and some of it is sort of like, maybe you had it coming. Eggnog Queen, amazing interview today. I'm also a writer online, and personally harassing comments I get from men boil down to know your role. These guys just want to know that in their minds, women are just the property of men. The further women advance, the more these men lash out with threats of violence. You know, it's interesting because I really wonder, like, the most sort of, I don't wade into comment sections too much, but for on YouTube sometimes. I don't have the time unless somebody specifically says, look at these comments.
I like how you just basically said, yeah, I don't really check out the comment sections online so much except for the very worst ones.
Well, I mean, just because we have a YouTube channel, I'm just curious. That's
No,
one of the primary places where we get comments from people who are not sort of regular listeners. But I know that on YouTube, my sense is that, and maybe this is just, it's not founded on any data, so that the audience is younger. And I wonder how much, I mean, that's what I'm really interested in is how much of the cohort that will do street harassment is the same cohort that will do it online? And what do they share demographically speaking? Like, is it younger? I mean, are these just like sort of like teenage boys who, and I'm not diminishing the implications of the threat, because there's, first of all, for the victim, there's no way for them to know. Second of all,
what does it matter?
Teenage boys can be just as threatening. But are the threats coming from, teenagers who are acting out? Is it coming from men who have sort of some type of like repressed hatred that this is, if I can express this anonymously, it's easier for me to compartmentalize? I mean, how sort of deranged are these people?
I would say
I truthfully think it's a mix of everything. It just depends where you go online. I mean, on YouTube, yes, the audience is definitely younger. It's probably more so these teenagers saying these horrible things.
Right.
But I mean, if you go on some news article that's covering some sort of rape case or same thing, you have grown men defending, these terrible acts, and you have these grown men attacking women.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think just by looking at Matt's work with public shaming alone, you know that these come from like every
it's a good time to.
possible-
What is the name of the Tumblr blog?
Publicshaming.tumblr.com.
Yeah, check that out if you want to see how disgusting some people are. Jabberwocky. Telling women to get off the internet to avoid harassment is like telling women to wear a burqa or be escorted by a male guardian to avoid street harassment. Sandinista, your guest is right on about the abuse issue being a society-wide problem. The internet and other media simply broadens the number of abuses. I recall how actress Anna Gunn wrote about receiving death threats simply for playing the antagonistic white wife on Breaking Bad. I remember, I mean, actresses I've worked with in, back in the day were always very leery about like having magazines around with their address on it. I mean, it's a concern.